coming off.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable!
We're about to go full court press.
Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan!
It's time to play ball.
Malone looking for his first hit of the year.
He drives one, deep left field. That goes Upton, back near the wall. It's out of here! Bartolo has done it! The impossible has happened!
Listen in as we tackle everything in the world of sports right now.
Stay off the weed.
Throw your hat in the ring at 516-572-7440. This is WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Dominic Arbolino here today with Matt Leonard, Michael Merlo, and Joshua Umahi. Elanor Ciampi is going to be joining us a little later to break down the latest with the NHL Trade Deadline that finished up yesterday. But everybody, how are we doing today?
Very good. I feel demoted. That's just me.
Why do you feel demoted?
We're not in our regular studio. I feel like we're back on Zoom. This is terrible.
It sounds weird in here.
Listen,
right? Yeah.
Listen, it's a little different because we're in two separate rooms. But honestly, in terms of being
supposed to work?
in terms of being the host of the show, because again I'm in a separate room, I really like this desk a lot more. Everything's nice and close by. It's a little easier to get to. I don't have to worry about dropping a pen like me and Michael love to do when we're hosts.
No, it looks right.
Yeah,
but the person that's in the other room is usually the guy on the board and just working the board.
People can't see this, but it looks like the three of us are in a boy band and you're our producer.
But it's interesting. This should be good.
Yeah, it's definitely good. We got a lot to talk about, so it's going to be a good time, that's for sure. 516-572-7440 is the number if you want to call in, talk about anything sports. Please, we're going to need you today. We love it. I'm telling you that right now, though. All right, so let's start with the NFL. Again, that's been a big thing lately because the NFL free agency did start. Technically, it started on Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, but the legal tampering period began Monday at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Today, the Minnesota Vikings signed outside linebacker Darius Smith to a 3-year, $42 million deal. The ex-Packer will stay in the NFC North after almost joining his old team that he got drafted to, the Baltimore Ravens, in the beginning of the offseason. Matt, what are your thoughts on the move by the Vikings?
My initial thought was, I don't know why he would back out of the Ravens deal. He's older and they gave him more years. They offered more years in Baltimore. It was 4 years, I believe $35 million. Yes, he gets more money in this deal, but I would take security at that. He's got to be in his mid-30s almost by now. He's not getting any younger. That's why I don't understand the move completely. And why are we posting all these things? ESPN's posting all this stuff like, oh, look at the Vikings defense. Every year they post this and nothing happens.
To be fair, I do really like the move, though, for the Vikings. Darius Smith, first of all, is only 29 years old. So, I mean, listen, he is getting up there. He is a veteran now, that's for sure. But his numbers have been outstanding. He was hurt all of last year. He only played one game.
Yep.
And his numbers from 2020, though, he had 16 total games played, so he played the whole entire year, 52 total tackles, 12.5 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. And let's not forget, Danielle Hunter managed to, his contract was a big issue for the Vikings going into the offseason. Everybody thought he was going to get traded, but Minnesota converted Hunter's $18 million roster bonus into a signing bonus, creating $13.5 million in 2022 cap that was able to go to Darius Smith, I
get the Vikings need that edge presence to go with Danielle Hunter. I understand that. I was okay with the Packers cutting Darius Smith because I don't see much left for him after that injury he had last year. I don't know. I mean, I'm not scared of them, but after this move didn't, tip the scales for me. If I was scared of anything about the Vikings, it's their offense.
Yeah, Darius Smith, he's actually, me and Matt were talking about this before. He's a little younger than I thought. So I kind of understand him taking this deal. The other deal with with the Ravens was about 4 years, $35 million, and he could have made up to $50 million in that deal In this one, it's 3 years, 42, like you said, and he could make up to $47 million. So clearly he wants that next contract, that he wants to get to free agency faster. I'm guessing that the Ravens were not willing to go down on the years. It'd be more money per year, obviously, and he's getting a lot more money per year here. So I kind of understand why he would do this. And talking about the Vikings, listen, Kirk Cousins is a more than capable quarterback of getting a team to the playoffs as long as he's got a good roster around him. For a couple of years now, the head coach has brought them down. They've had a good offense. Let's see if they can put it together here, because the offense with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, and now adding Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, now the offensive coordinator from the Rams, I think this is going to help big time, and I think the Vikings are going to make the playoffs.
The other reason I really like this move for the Vikings as well is because I think they're taking the opportunity to be aggressive after Devontae Adams getting traded to the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, that...
To the Raiders.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Thank you.
I wish.
That trade kind of opens up this division a little more, and I understand the Packers still have a very strong team all around. I would still expect them to win that division, but I don't think it's going to be as easy now. I really like the Vikings as a potential playoff team, but even to win that division now.
Well, they have to make another move to get a receiver. I mean, they don't even have Valdez-Scantling on this roster right now. So who are the? Yeah, he's a free agent.
No, he's a free
I
agent.
didn't know that.
He's been linked to the Patriots since the start of free agency, but there's really been no traction with him as well.
You signed Lazard. Okay, he's back for $4 million. What's the next move? And you can't tell me Julio Jones is going to solve all your problems, because you had a legitimate number one wide receiver here, and Julio Jones is just not that anymore. He's been injured. He hasn't been effective. So you need a legitimate wide receiver that can come in here and take up a bulk of these catches and these yards. You don't have that guy right now on this team, and it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, the question with the Packers is where they're going to get this wide receiver talent. Like,
I say draft.
It can't be through the draft.
It can't solely be due to the draft.
They're going to do both.
They got to bring a veteran in.
They're going to do both. I think they're going to draft a wide receiver in the first round, because I think there will be somebody there for them. And then I think you also look at free agent options. You have two guys that really stick out to me, because I don't think Julio Jones is going to be signing with the Packers. I think he's going to be signing with the Colts for reasons we're going to get into in a little bit.
Well, that's obvious.
But I would say Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. Even though I'm still not the biggest Jarvis Landry fan, and he's more of a slot guy. I mean, he's still good, but I think the number one option would have to be Odell Beckham Jr.
And Odell looked good when he was with the Rams. There's no
100%.
doubt about it. But how much can you trust him? I think definitely injuries are going to be a concern now going forward with him, and he's not getting any younger. And is he still capable of being a number one wide receiver? I'm going to say no on that, Dom. We saw what he was in Cleveland. He was not capable of being the number one guy. I think Odell was good, and it worked out in L.A. because he was the number two option.
You can argue that, again, with Odell Beckham Jr.'s stats in Cleveland, though, that it wasn't all his fault.
Baker Mayfield was throwing him the ball.
Yes, yeah. Agreed.
I will say I definitely expected Odell Beckham Jr. to definitely play better with the Browns, but, again, his quarterback was... there definitely was some chemistry issues
less
there,
than
as we
ideal.
found out.
No, I mean, I'm looking at some more free agent options right now. At this stage, it's not great, but you got A.J. Green, Sammy Watkins.
This is washed veterans.
It's what you have now, though.
But
this is why the Adams departure is so captivating for this team.
If you can add a receiver like that, and you can add an impact guy in the draft, does that make up for things, or would you even need to add 3 wide receivers on top of a guy that is a shell of himself, a young guy, and then maybe one more guy? They have a lot of work to do here. And listen, they don't pay Adams all this money, and they're somehow saving money on that, but they're putting those resources into other things. They signed Rasul Douglas to a 3-year contract, just a couple of days after the Adams trade went through.
I mean, there's going to be no replacing Devontae Adams. I think that's where we need to start the conversation, but
100%.
This wide receiver draft class, I mean, any expert, I don't know if you'd consider Mel Kiper an expert still.
Sure.
Yeah.
His latest mock draft is pretty rough, I must say.
He's paid to be an expert on the draft, so go ahead.
So him and a lot of others are saying this is a very deep wide receiver class.
You're not going to replace... I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Moneyball.
Yep.
So when they're talking about replacing Jason Giambi and Johnny Damon and a couple of other guys, you're not doing it with one player. You're not going to bring back one player that's going to replace that one guy. You have to replace Davante Adams with a few guys because nobody's as good as Davante Adams. So you're going to have to draft a receiver. You're going to have to sign a couple of guys on the free agency market. And I don't think one of them should be MVS. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They need to add weapons to this room. I think it's pretty obvious. They do have the 2 running backs, which I like both of them. It's probably the best duo running back maybe in the league, outside of Cleveland. So what do? I mean, they have options, but do they have money?
The question is, though, can Davante Adams get on base?
Yes. That's a Billy Bean reference.
Yep. Anyway,
I never expected Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams to not play again. Like when I saw Aaron Rodgers returning to Green Bay, I thought, okay, that the main reason is because they're keeping Davante Adams. I thought he was never going to stay if he wasn't going to be playing with Davante Adams. But he knew about it going into the contract signing that Davante Adams and the Packers, it was just a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and it's shocking. But he gets to play with this old college quarterback in Derek Carr. It's definitely an exciting time to be a Raiders fan. I do want to ask the callers, though. Again, 516-572-7440. Who do you think could be a replacement for Davante Adams with the Green Bay Packers? And if you're just joining us, you're listening to WHPC Sports Talk on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Let's get into another free agent signing that happened today. And this morning, running back Leonard Fournette re-signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after spending all day with the New England Patriots yesterday. It's a 3-year contract worth $21 million that can get up to $24 million. Michael, the Bucs are managing to keep everybody back again like they did last year. At least some. I mean, some have left, but the important ones have stayed. Would you consider them the favorite in the NFC?
Big time. I think they're the favorite. I think with them bringing all these players back, they're the team to beat. A team that really could challenge them as the Packers. And like we've just been talking about for the last 10 minutes, they lost one of their best players. So that right there, it's a direct comparison if you want to go to stop looking around, it's in here, Tom.
I guess being in the studio means you hear some more of the ruckus that happens outside.
Yes. But you look at the difference between the Bucs and the Packers, and that's the Bucs retained their big-time wide receiver, and the Packers did not. The Bucs signed Chris Godwin to a 3-year, $60 million deal. The Packers don't keep Adams. This is the team to beat. They retained a ton of guys on defense. They lost the defensive back to the Jets. I think that's about it on defense. So they're bringing a strong defensive line back. They're bringing back, obviously a fantastic offense. And the offensive line, I think, some people have been concerned about that. They traded for the guard from New England, Mason. I'm blanking on his first name, Shaq Mason. So they're improved. They're making strides there on the offensive line. This team's going to be fine, and they should absolutely be the favorite. I think they're better than the Rams. I think they should have beat the Rams with a healthy offensive line. As long as the offensive line's healthy next year, they're going to beat the Rams.
And I think, too, the only really hole they have on the offensive line now is at left guard. Shaq Mason plays right guard, so he does fill that need there because, as you said, they lost both of their starting guards. When I look
Tom, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
If I'm not mistaken, they haven't traded first-round picks, right?
No, they still have one.
They have first-round. They have picks in this draft and in upcoming drafts.
A fit for them, also a fit for the Bengals, is guard Zion Johnson.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the biggest one right there. I think he's going to be a late first-round pick, and he's going to fill in nicely with either the Bengals or the Bucs because they both have a need at left guard, and he does play left guard.
They're going to have options, and you brought up that guard. There's a ton of interior offensive linemen in this draft at the top of it, but we know teams don't like drafting interior offensive linemen, at the top of the draft. So a lot of these guys are going to fall to the bottom of the draft, right where the Tampa Bay Bucs are going to be drafting. And does Tom Brady need any more advantages here? This is another thing that's going to fall right into his lap. I'm kidding. Tom Brady's the greatest of all time.
To be fair, this NFC now is super weak. You could talk about 3 teams just that I could pick, and that is the Buccaneers, the Rams, and then I'll still throw the Packers in there only because of Aaron Rodgers. I know they are weak at the wide receiver position right now, but they still do have a good system there, and they'll figure it out. And they still have Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But it's tough. The whole conference is bad now. There's no quarterbacks, which is something we're going to get into a little bit later, but
I got one team for you that you're missing out.
49ers?
The Niners.
I love the Niners. So honestly, if it's not the Bucs, it's the Niners this year. That's where I'm going.
You're that high on them over the Rams?
What about the Rams? Rams, they lost Darius Williams, one of their starting cornerbacks.
Whitworth
and then you also
retired.
have Whitworth, and then Von Miller.
What's the deal with
Bills.
Aaron Donald? Is he coming back?
No one knows. He doesn't know.
Well, the big thing is that he wanted Von to re-sign, and if Von re-signed, then Aaron Donald was going to run it back. But now that didn't happen. He left for the Bills on a massive deal, which still doesn't make sense. Again, cap space, we've already said it on the show before. I'll continue to say it for the rest of my life, is a myth. There are so many ways of getting around it, and it really aggravates me. Because make it make sense, the NFL, please. Get some analysts to explain it, because they really don't like to anymore.
Hey, I ain't complaining. That's all I know.
Well, yeah, for your situation, you created all that cap space to bring back Jameis Winston. That's the plan, right?
Well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Future. That's the future.
Nothing's wrong with it, but you were hyping up a lot of stuff. You were excited for something.
Wait. What exactly was I hyping up?
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson?
Well,
go to Joshua Umahi's Twitter, and you'll be able to see that he was in love with Deshaun Watson, and he was predicting that.
Listen.
Maybe not as much on there. Okay, I'll give you the credit there. At least when I worked with you, because again, I'm only here on Tuesdays, but. Definitely, if you
it was
follow him
other
on
days
Twitter,
too, Dom. It was every day he was here.
Okay, there you go. So, thanks for backing that up.
Listen, we only have an hour to fit certain things in, so I don't want to get all of my agendas across. But yes, Deshaun Watson is a star quarterback. I watched Drew Brees for damn near 18, 19 seasons.
It's like your whole life.
My whole life.
You've had a quarterback your whole life, Josh.
So I don't want to see you complain.
I'm in the same boat as you, and I almost lost my quarterback. So I get where you're coming from a little bit.
I'll say it right now. I am spoiled, yes.
You're spoiled.
I had to watch last year Ian Book and Taysom Hill play meaningful games and snaps for us. I don't want to see that ever again.
Jameis Winston didn't tear his ACL on Halloween. I think the Saints season could be a little different. But.
I agree. We were 5-2. We just beat the Bucs, and then he tears his ACL up, and then who knows?
And listen, again, like I said before, the NFC is really weak, so I think they could definitely make the playoffs, even if it's a wild card spot, because they're not winning that division.
I'm curious about this. If we broke the NFC teams down in tiers, I think the Bucs, Rams, Packers are still in that one tier.
I put the Niners just below them.
But just below them, right. I would say the
Niners. Not quite top tier yet.
Dallas.
See, but Dallas, they lost a couple pieces.
They lost a lot, yeah.
Their weapons, the depth chart there.
Nothing.
They need to add a wide receiver in the draft. I don't think it'll be in the first round, but they need to add a wide receiver badly because they lost Cedric Wilson to the Dolphins, who was also a nice depth piece. Randy Gregory, you messed up that whole situation.
Where do you put Amari Cooper's gone?
Amari Cooper as well.
Where do you put Arizona? Do you put them in that second tier?
Second tier.
Yeah,
you have to.
They'll be in the first tier for the first 8 weeks and then drop off to the last tier.
Yep. And then I think that's it with the second tier. And then I think that third tier would probably be, the Eagles. Could be in there.
Maybe the Giants if they play well enough.
I wouldn't say the Giants.
I don't see the Giants.
They have a chance to be there, I think.
I'd say the Vikings are definitely in that class. I think the Giants are like a step below.
I put the Saints in the third tier. Sorry, Josh.
It's close.
I would just so
even with Jameis, they're in the third tier.
I have this thing where do people want my real take on the Saints and my delusional super fan take on the Saints? Real take.
Real take 100%.
Jameis coming back. We need to get wide receiver help. Michael Thomas, that's great. He's coming back. He's healthy. He's motivated. We need to get a receiver from somewhere, whether it's the remaining free agents or in the draft.
AJ Green would be a good signing for them. I like that for them.
Who?
AJ Green.
Yeah, someone with
I think it's better for the Saints and the Packers. Jameis needs experienced receivers.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers just needs someone that can catch a football.
Watching the Saints last season, it was a quarterback play, it was a receiver play. We need offensive punch, and then maybe I can say we're in the second tier.
What's wrong with Traquan Smith?
Odell Beckham Jr. could be an interesting spot there.
Yeah.
We're not looking at him to be the number one. We don't know how Michael Thomas is going to be coming back from that injury, but still, you would think he's the number one guy there.
Louisiana.
He returns to Louisiana, where he went to school, LSU.
Jarvis Landry, too.
Jarvis Landry as well.
Have a reunion.
The only thing with Jarvis Landry, though, again, is that he's majority of a slot wide receiver, and you already have Michael Thomas there. That's why I don't... you can still make room for him, but...
There are so many teams that are like, Jarvis Landry fits here, here, and here, and then we realize he's a slot guy, and yes, he could be productive, but I don't really see him being a number one anywhere. He could slide in and be a nice number two. Same thing with Robert Woods, who was just traded to Tennessee. It's an interesting fit. I like it. Obviously to go along with A.J. Brown, who's fantastic, but... I don't know. The Saints need a lot of help there, definitely in their wide receiver group.
Speaking of a slot guy that I just want to quickly bring up that I don't want to talk about too much because he's just not that big of a name, Jameson Crowder to the Buffalo Bills. That is a really underrated signing. It's a 1-year, $4 million deal, replaces Cole Beasley, who got released, and I think that is an upgrade. I've watched Jameson Crowder on the Jets for the last 3 years in a very miserable 3 years, and he's always produced.
Well, when he's healthy, he produces big time.
And I'm not looking forward to the Jets Bills games this year, but I am rooting for him.
Is Emmanuel Sanders still there, or is he a free agent now?
I think he's a free agent.
If he's a free agent,
I would take him.
Yeah.
I would take him back.
Like, this guy's done anything in the past 2 years.
Exactly. We're talking about a lot of older receivers. If I'm talking about receivers any team should look to add right now if they're going to be playing meaningful snaps, it's Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. That's about it. Not even Julio Jones. Come on. Julio Jones, I love him, and he was so entertaining to watch in his prime, but he is washed. He can barely stay on the field. Mm-hmm. He doesn't give you that much anymore. It's just the situation. So if I'm looking for a receiver that's going to be playing meaningful snaps, it's Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. Nobody else on that list that is remaining intrigues me.
Emmanuel Sanders hasn't had over 900 yards in a season since 2016 when he had 1,000 in Denver. So he was somewhat productive last year. He had 600 yards, 42 catches. He had 4 touchdowns. I mean, you can't bring him in as a number 2 or number 1, obviously.
Not as number 2, but as a depth piece.
As a depth piece, sure.
Veteran wide receiver.
Yeah, but
ain't nothing wrong with that.
I think both of your teams have
a number 1
other issues than worrying about who a depth piece is going to be on that team.
516-572-7440 is the number if you want to call in, talk about anything sports. And if you're just joining us, WHPC Sports Talk on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Dominic Arbolino, Matt Leonard, Michael Merlo, Joshua Umahi, and Elanor Ciampi is going to be joining us in about 15 to 20 minutes to break down the NHL Trade Deadline that happened yesterday. Also, I want to let you know, don't go anywhere after us because we have a German hit parade right after us, and it's going to be live music.
That's unbelievable.
5 p.m. Eastern Time.
That's
what they're setting up in the live studio. That's why we got, as Matt said, demoted to the recording studio. But
wait,
again,
that's what they're doing over there?
Yes, it's good. They have a live band. It's going to be a live show. So
I want to hear
Sean, our
this.
station director, is setting it up right now. It's going to be a fun time.
That's going to be amazing.
I'm genuinely excited.
Get a little bit of German culture as
well. They have accordions in there and like lederhosen and everything.
I wasn't able to get a look at the instruments they're using. I'm
did.
sure it's going to be a wide variety.
If they perform the intro live, they have me hooked for the rest of the show. I'm telling you right now.
But again, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, right after WHPC Sports Talk. Tune in for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get moving still with the NFL news because yesterday the Indianapolis Colts traded a 2022 third-round pick, only a 2022 third-round pick, to the Atlanta Falcons for quarterback Matt Ryan.
Why are you laughing?
Because Josh is so excited.
Listen to this. This is now the 5th year in a row that the Colts will have a new starting quarterback to begin the season. The Falcons followed up the trade by signing quarterback Marcus Mariota to a 2-year contract worth $18.75 million.
Josh Rosen is the future.
Listen, you'll get my take on Marcus Mariota in a little bit, but let's get to Joshua first. What are your thoughts on the trade?
He on both fronts. I mean, the Colts
on both fronts.
On both fronts, because
why?
I watched Matt Ryan last season. This is why the Kyle Pitts selection was so like, what are you doing? Because he was clearly showing signs of washedness. And they brought him back. They put all their chips on the table, saying, "Let's compete with the Buccaneers and the Saints for the division. We have this new sparkling tight end here. Well, who's going to get him the ball? Not Matt Ryan that effectively." So he's on the Colts now. I mean, we touched on it yesterday. We said about how Carson Wentz couldn't get them to the playoffs, but Phillip Rivers did.
No, listen. I'm not going to take this Carson Wentz slander right now. And you want to know why?
Why?
Because he did everything they needed to. They relied on their defense a lot. They ran the ball a ton. If you look at his stats, they're not even that bad. I don't agree with the Colts getting rid of Carson Wentz. I think they should have kept him, to be honest with you.
I think that if you're looking at it purely on the field and stats, then yes, it doesn't make sense that they got rid of him.
In terms
there
of
were a ton of issues in that locker room and we spoke about it yesterday, where This isn't the second time he's been considered a cancer in the locker room, and you have to go. You have to get rid of guys like this if it's a continuing problem, and that's what it seemed to be. They couldn't get that guy out of the room fast enough, and I trust the people in Indianapolis. Chris Ballard is a fantastic general manager. I happen to really like Frank Wright as a head coach. I trust this decision 100%. If they believe he was not good for the culture and for the locker room, get him out.
Not only that, Mike, you had that, and then he had a good touchdown interception ratio, but I mean, he's doing stuff like flipping the ball behind his back or whatever in the end zone. He's still doing stuff like that.
He had back-breaking plays where it was just, oh my God, what are you doing? He does cost them a couple of games. Yeah. Yes, the numbers look good, and I'm a Carson Wentz defender. Believe me, I am. But he just does things that kill you in so many big spots, and I think that's also one of the reasons why they got rid of him. And the game that they lost against Jacksonville, Dom, I don't think it's really his fault. They couldn't stop them.
The offensive line was terrible that game.
He does cause issues.
The main reason why I am okay with them getting rid of Carson Wentz is a reason that you brought up, and that is Frank Reich. If Frank Reich gave up on him, which was the guy that I thought could be the savior for Carson Wentz because he was the offensive coordinator with the Eagles during Carson Wentz's possible MVP season, then okay. I'm okay with accepting it. But I think Matt Ryan is going to give you everything that Carson Wentz gave, plus the leadership, hopefully, in the locker room. You're not going to see locker room problems with Matt Ryan. He's been a leader throughout his career. And let's not forget, he is a former MVP.
I was about to mention the same thing.
I understand his arm is not the same. He's an older player. You're not going to be getting much mobility from him. But I think he's going to be able to lead you to at least a playoff spot. They could even win the division. The Titans didn't get much better.
Since the MVP season, he's 5th in touchdowns and among all quarterbacks, and I think he's 1st in passing yards. So I agree with you, Dom. This guy is more than capable of winning the division for them. I think they are going to win the division. You can make the argument right now that he's the best quarterback in the division.
Yeah.
Very easily make that argument. So I think this Colts team is they have money. They haven't really spent it, which I'm not going to kill them. If you don't like what you see, don't spend the money. Don't ruin that cap space. So if they do need to add a receiver, I will go there. They need to add another receiver to go along with Pittman. So I like this trade for them. They don't give up much. It's one of the third-round picks, I'm guessing, or they supplement it with one of the third-round picks they got from Washington. So this is a good move for them, and I think they do upgrade a quarterback when you consider on the field and you consider in the locker room.
Well, it's an upgrade. It's definitely a steadier option from Carson Wentz, and that's what they have more success with. But again, I'm not blown away. I just feel like if you're talking about them as a contender, this ain't it. But, what else was out there? I don't really blame them for going the route of Matt Ryan. There wasn't really much Jimmy G. No.
But they're going to, Josh, what do you mean by, it's not it? I think they
Super Bowl winning.
They'll win the division probably, like you said.
They'll win the division, but you have to look at the AFC, and it's a brutal conference. Yes. It's brutal. So there weren't many quarterbacks other than Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson that they were going to bring in and put themselves into a Super Bowl, conversation. They were going to upgrade a quarterback. We knew that after they trade Wentz, and I don't think anybody thought it was going to be one of those guys.
Well, it's a good move in the sense of, like you said, they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to compete in one playoff game, maybe win a playoff round, but that's it.
Hopefully you keep this group together, and you can, add next season, and then possibly jump on an elite quarterback that's available then.
And if they draft a quarterback in addition to this, I like the move a lot better. I'll say that. Listen, get a guy in the room Matt Ryan can get behind and groom.
I just don't think they're going to be. They don't have a first round pick. I think it's with the Eagles this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to be able to draft the quarterback. There's not many, and I don't think there's going to be many when they're selecting. But I don't know. This sets them up now. So, okay, they'll compete this year and be able to add, in a year or two if another elite quarterback is up for sale.
They'll win. They'll draft a quarterback next year. I think that's going to be the focus there because they will have a first-round pick again. And again, this quarterback class is weak. But when I'm looking at the Colts, the strong suit, the reason why they're going to be winning games is their defense. And their defense managed to get better because they added Yannick Ngakoue. That was a big addition from the Raiders. And again, I understand he's kind of fallen off since his time with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he's still a very good rusher. And again, I believe in this Colts team. The Titans haven't gotten much better, but they still have a great head coach in Mike Vrabel. It's going to be an interesting division to watch there. Let's quickly end the NFL talk on pretty much what's going on this offseason. It's definitely been one for the record books regarding the quarterback position. We've had a lot of movement there. So many quarterbacks will be playing with a new team next season. So pretty much I want to ask everybody, which quarterback are you most excited to watch with their new squad?
Oh, Marcus Mariota.
Really?
Really? Why are you laughing?
I'm
in your division.
I'm actually aggravated because he stole mine.
Oh,
100%
wow.
Marcus Mariota. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch his Oregon highlights, please do.
I'm
an Oregon fan.
I mean,
I've been such a fan for him for the longest time.
This is
I loved him
time.
when he came out of college. I just don't know if he has it.
well, that exactly. We
That's
don't know.
why it's
We don't know
intriguing,
anymore. But it's intriguing because this is his year. It's basically a 1-year contract when you look at the numbers they're able to get out of it after this year. So it's like a 1-year prove-it deal for Marcus Mariota.
I like him as a player. I don't like the situation he's in because the Atlanta Falcons, if you look at their depth chart, it's pretty rough. They don't have a lot.
I mean, of course,
on offense, especially.
they could still draft somebody too, and then
Right.
either have them sit or have them compete with Marcus Mariota, and then eventually start.
But so I don't like the situation, but Mariota, we all have that guy across like all sports where people give up on them and kind of write them off, but you're just like, this guy has
And it's a
potential.
random guy.
Yeah, a random guy. Like
Yeah.
I know it's still in him. Like I watched him in college. The Titans, he won a playoff game.
Yes.
I mean, he wasn't just all terrible in Tennessee.
No, it fell apart at the end for him. I'm a big Mariota fan because I still do root for Oregon a little bit in football. I think the obvious answer is Desean Watson, and I'm obviously excited to watch him because we haven't seen him in a couple of years. But I'm going to go Russell Wilson with Denver. They have so much expectation. There's so many expectations this year, and I think it's going to be interesting to see whether or not this. People say he's tailing off a little bit, and that the past couple of seasons, his first halves to the season have not been followed by good second halves. And I think especially this year he was injured. He came back a little early, probably from the thumb injury. So I'm interested to see how he plays on a better roster with, I hope, a better offensive system. And I could probably guarantee that it's a better offensive system coming from Green Bay. So yeah, I'm going to say Russell Wilson. And I think that this could be a Super Bowl contending team. I think they could absolutely compete for a Super Bowl. It's brutal in the AFC. Again, we're going to keep saying that, and that's going to be the mojo all year.
Well,
Matt, do you have one?
Well, Mike took mine and Russell Wilson, so I'm going to pivot to my backup answer. And that is a quarterback that might not even start, but that's the intrigue for me, and that's Tyron Taylor with the Giants.
Really? That is a very unexpected pick.
I think it's interesting because the whole quarterback competition, they're going to bring in Trubisky. Now, they're not bringing in Trubisky because he signed with the Steelers.
Well, they wanted
That's interesting
Trubisky.
in itself.
Trubisky
with the Steelers is interesting in itself. That's going to be really fun to watch, hopefully.
The Giants wanted Trubisky, but he wanted to have more of an opportunity to start.
Yeah, that makes sense for him.
But look at the money that Tyrod Taylor's getting.
Yeah.
That's why it's so intriguing to me. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with the Giants at quarterback. We thought we knew.
He was definitely brought in to compete with Daniel Jones and have the opportunity to start. The money he is making, like Michael said, it's not backup money.
That's starting money, yeah.
It could be starting money, and there's a chance he definitely could win over Brian Dable and start.
That's insane. That's why this is. I think it's one of the most intriguing storylines no one's talking about.
And as he should, right? Because Daniel Jones hasn't earned any right to say, I'm the starting quarterback.
No.
He's got to go out there and prove that he's the guy, and I'm hoping he does. I like Tyrod Taylor. Actually, no, this is what I hope happens. And I shouldn't say hope, but this is going to sound bad. I hope Tyrod Taylor wins the job, and then for whatever reason, maybe it's injury, maybe it's
weird
not.
yearly injury that he does.
He has this weird thing where he can't play like week 2 or 3, and then Daniel Jones comes in and lights the world on fire because that seems to happen. Baker Mayfield and the Browns, remember? Tyrod Taylor was starting that Thursday night game.
And then Herbert.
And then Herbert in the next year. I'm kind of hoping that happens.
Is the Giants team doctor going to, I'm not going to say intentionally, but puncture his lung accidentally to get Justin Herbert on the field? Is that going to be the same?
The team doctor in week 2, right before the game, is going to say, Tyrod, you got something on that ankle, man. I don't like that.
That's the fan in you talking right there.
Doesn't look good. Oh, yeah, it is. No, but you're right, Matt. It is interesting. But they should absolutely have somebody to compete for this job. And I was hoping they signed Mitch Trubisky. That's the guy I really wanted with a connection to Dayball. But Tyrod, go ahead. Let's go. Let's see what you got.
That is the point the Giants are at, where their fans are saying, I wanted Mitch Trubisky as my quarterback.
You know who's at another low point, and we touched on it yesterday a little bit? this Baker Mayfield stuff.
I was going to say Baker Mayfield.
I don't see any market for him right now. And
Seattle's the only one.
And they have Drew Lock,
seem pretty
good, but
I'd rather have Baker Mayfield than Drew Lock.
I agree.
would too, but you don't have to trade for Drew Lock. I mean, you have him.
But Dom, they seem really content with Drew Lock right now. Teams like the Panthers, I could see him there, but it's there's no real movement. It's like these teams are waiting for him to get cut. Instead of trading compensation for him.
I was a fan of Baker Mayfield when he was coming out of Oklahoma. I actually wanted the Jets to draft him that year, but he ended up going 1 to the Browns, which was a shocker. Everybody thought they were going to take Sam Darnold. So it definitely upsets me a little bit to see Baker Mayfield not pan out as well in the NFL, and it's really going to disappoint me if he doesn't have a starting job this year, but Marcus Mariota does. Like, again, I am rooting for Marcus Mariota, and it's going to be very fun to see if he can pan out there, but it's just...
Why do you feel bad for Baker?
Because I liked him, and I still think he has a chance to start over Marcus Mariota.
You're one of the only human beings
I'll take my fan side out of it, of actually just like liking him. I think he deserves another chance to start.
Sure,
I agree with that.
Is he going to have to go through the Marcus Mariota treatment and be a backup for a season or two before he gets another starting role? That might be the only option for him. Not going to Seattle.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second, though, Dom. I don't think a quarterback can be put into a better situation than Baker Mayfield was put into definitely last season, but you could even say the year before. There are very few instances in the NFL where you have everything go right. A really good offensive line, an offensive coach, an innovative offensive coach, a good, solid running game, and a really solid defense on the other side. It's very rare you have all those things going right for you at once, and he had that on his rookie deal where they were able to go and spend money on all these things. It's very rare, and usually when that happens, teams are in the Super Bowl. So, honest to God, I don't know if this guy's ever going to work out because I don't think he'll ever be in a better situation than that.
And to be honest, though, I do want to say that I'm not going to disagree. I know Baker Mayfield has been pretty bad. He's been awful since really his rookie season with the Cleveland Browns. So I won't deny that. But again, the fan side of me is hoping he'll work out somewhere. But again, it seems unlikely. Matt, go ahead.
Josh was saying he's linked to the Panthers, obviously, because they need a quarterback. They're one of the only teams left needs a quarterback. So I'm going to ask you, Dom, as the Jets fan in the other room, I should say, not in the room, in the other room. Would you rather have Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield as your starting quarterback for the Panthers?
That's tough because, again, they've really both been
not good
disappointments.
That one's easy. That one, I'm taking Baker.
Yeah, I'm taking Darnold. I'm taking Baker.
I'm taking Darnold too.
Listen,
no, I'm not taking Darnold. I'm saying he sucks.
Darnold sucks.
You managed to see what Sam
Darnold over Baker.
You managed to see what Sam Darnold did with the Carolina Panthers last year. He lost his job to P.J. Walker and Cam Newton. I mean,
P.J. Walker.
Cam Newton played well when he got there.
I just want to say this: that trade by Joe Douglas, another fleece. They got a 2nd, 4th, and 6th round pick back in return for Sam Darnold. The Colts got Matt Ryan for a 3rd.
What would you get right now? What would you get right now for Sam Darnold?
A late round pick? As high as a 5th?
A conditional 6th round pick, probably.
That could turn into a 5th, depending on how well he plays. Quickly, before we switch over to the NHL, I just want to say one guy, since Joshua did say Marcus Mariota, I'm going with Malik Willis. And I know he doesn't have a team right now, but he is really intriguing that if he gets a chance to start, he might not. He might get the Patrick Mahomes treatment.
Which is fine and could work out.
It works out for Mahomes.
Definitely fine.
If you listen to, again, draft experts, quote unquote, but
that one knows.
If everybody's saying he has Josh Allen type potential, just off that and you watch his tape at Liberty, he's so intriguing to me.
His pro day today, too, and he had some
He was amazing.
Yeah, he had some impressive
He had a Zach
throws.
Wilson type throw.
Yep. Everybody's stealing what I'm about to say. Marcus Mariota earlier, I was literally just about to say that, Michael.
I mean, it means nothing, obviously. I could throw a ball really far, shorts and a T-shirt.
Can you make those throws off your back foot?
I remember,
going the other way? Come on.
I remember watching that pro day, and I was like, I watched it live, and I'm like, oh my god, that's impressive. And then now, going back on it, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter what you do with nobody coming after you and no pads. With so, it looks cool.
I'd love to see you try and make that throw, though.
I could throw a ball far. Let me get. If you want,
can you do it on your back foot?
Let me get into some shape. I think I could do that. I think I could do that. Get my arm ready to go. Let me warm up for about a month, and I could do that.
For about a month. Yeah.
How long
He's on the field right there.
But all seriousness, though, how long do you think he was warming up for that pro day?
His whole life.
He was going big time for that pro day.
As he should. That actually, his pro day is what made me fall in love with him and wanted the Jets to draft him at too. Before I was really stuck between him and Fields. I didn't know.
I would love to do like a competition, like a athletic competition on the field between us.
Can we film this? I love that.
I could do this. Listen, I'm a big guy, but I'm impressive. I'm about to go to baseball practice right now and coach some little kids, and I think they should give me the bat and let me take a swing.
We can all do a combine. We can all do a 40-yard dash.
Oh, my God.
We'll do a huge combine.
The WHPC Sports Talk combine.
Oh, we got to set this up. We got to set this up.
I got to say, we definitely can set this up, and I need to invite former Sports Talk co-host Eric. Yeah, watch him with his wheels. I must say, if you haven't seen him run, it's quite the.
I've never seen him do anything athletic, but I'm guessing he's one of the most unathletic people on this planet.
He used to play baseball.
And if he's listening, I really hope he is. Just to say that.
516-572-7440 is the number if you want to call in, talk about anything sports. We're going to switch over to the NHL now. We're bringing in Elanor Ciampi because the NHL Trade Deadline was yesterday. We have a lot of deals to talk about, so let's do that. But before we do, if you're just tuning in now, you're listening to WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. What's going on here?
We're going to...
I was going to ask you, mute our mics for a second as we, hop out.
Yeah.
You guys are going to leave?
No, we're good now. I mean, we're going to open the door, but...
No.
Let's do that hockey, as they say.
Yeah. Just stay for now, all right, if you can.
And I just want to add, go Rangers. Thank you.
Okay. We are going to be talking about the Rangers. Also, another reason, as you heard, why we're in the recording studio at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, German Hit Parade, a live band performance. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tune in for that after us. Going to be a good time. All right, Elanor, let's get into the trade deadline now because we have a lot of stuff to get into. Let's start off with the most active team yesterday, which was the New York Rangers, which we kind of expected, but when I look at the moves, nothing sticks out to me that much. My favorite is the first one we're going to talk about, and that's the Rangers acquired forward Andrew Kopp for a 2023 sixth-round pick from the Winnipeg Jets for Morgan Barron, 2 second-round picks, and a fifth-round pick. What are your thoughts on that deal, just to start there? And then the other three will kind of combine as one.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think in general for the Rangers, their bottom six got a lot better. Their top six is still a little bit iffy. I think they rely too much on their star players to score all the goals. Out of the 16 playoff teams right now, they have the fewest goals scored at 5-on-5. So they do rely on players like Panarin and Zibanejad and Kreider to score all the goals. So top six is still an issue for me, but bottom six with these trades got a lot better. Kopp can definitely play on the third line with Gaudreau. And Hedl, he has 35 points in 56 games. He was on the first penalty kill, so I think that he's a great penalty killer. That could be something the Rangers could really use because they do take a lot of penalties. I really like this move.
And Kopp is going to be joining the third line, too. It made official today. I got the update from the Score app. The other three trades that we're going to be talking about, so the Rangers acquired defenseman Justin Braun from the Philadelphia Flyers for a 2023 third-round pick. The Rangers also acquired forward Tyler Mott from the Vancouver Canucks for a 2023 fourth-round pick. And then lastly, a minor AHL deal pretty much, or trade. The Rangers acquired forward Nick Merkley from the San Jose Sharks for defenseman Anthony Potato.
Again, with Merkley and Mott, bottom six guys. Both of them could play.
Do you even think Merkley is playing right away? I don't think so. I think I saw from the Rangers the three players that they acquired out of the four that are playing tonight, because I believe they play tonight, is Kopp, Braun, and Mott. And Mott's going to be on the fourth line.
Yeah.
Yep.
So again, and then Merkley's a good person to have in the AHL right now. Justin Braun, he's a 12-year NHL veteran. He brings a lot of experience to the team. I'm assuming he plays right side. He's never switched to left. I mean, I guess he could, but if he's going to continue playing right side, I think maybe he would replace Braden Schneider eventually on that third pairing, but I don't know. But I do think that was a good pickup for them. I don't know. I thought the Rangers did really well.
Yeah, again, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with what the Rangers did, but I would have expected a little more of a flashier move. But they wanted deadline too. What was a little dead, no pun intended.
They wanted Raquel from Anaheim, which we'll get into later, but his price was too high. They didn't feel comfortable going that high for a player like him. So that was originally their goal. Obviously, that did not work out. Mm-hmm. So I mean, like for that not working out, I think that they did a good job with what they had. There wasn't a lot of options.
Yeah.
I feel like for anyone.
I think we're both comfortable in saying that the Rangers should be in the playoffs by the end of the year.
Yeah.
How do you think this helps their playoff chances? How far do you see them going? I mean, again, it's so tough. We're not going to know any of the matchups right now, so that can always it can help out a lot of things there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I definitely don't
had a mental moment. I hear some music in the background.
I know.
As we get ready for this live show. I've got a lot of thoughts going through my mind. This is a weird setup. I'm not used to it.
I don't think it hurts them. I think it helps them a little bit. Like I said, I think top 6 is still kind of an issue for them. Capo Caco is out until at least April, like the middle of April.
How disappointing he's been, too.
I know.
Everybody thought that he was going to make an immediate impact. Same with Lafreniere. Everybody was comparing him to be the next Connor McDavid, and he's definitely not made that kind of impact right away.
Definitely not. I think with the Rangers, they do rely too heavily on their star players, and I think eventually and into the playoffs, that'll eventually cause a problem for them because you need scoring, you need secondary scoring, you need all of that.
Yeah.
I do think the Rangers are definitely a lock for the playoffs. I put money on the fact that it's going to be Rangers-Penguins first round. I think it just depends now on who's going to get home ice, but we'll see.
What would you think? First round exit?
I don't know.
It's tough.
I don't know. Penguins-Rangers play so good in that one game that they played one game so far this season. It was 1-0 Penguin win, and that really felt like a playoff game to me. So I think that it could go either way.
I think it'll come down to playoff experience.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, no matter the matchup, I could see the Rangers losing round 1 because of that experience that they don't have. The only way they would make it far as if Shesterkin plays out of his mind, which he's been the whole entire season.
Yeah.
So.
And Penguins-Rangers this Friday night, if you want a little playoff taste.
Let's keep the talk on goaltenders, since I just brought up Shesterkin. Let's get to the Minnesota Wild now. They acquired goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury from the Chicago Blackhawks for a conditional second-round pick that can turn into a first-round pick. The Blackhawks are also retaining 50% of Fleury's contract as well. Elanor, what are your thoughts on the trade? I mean, if you've listened to 90.3 WHPC Sports Talk Beyond the Game, when we used to call it that,
years.
You know that Elanor is a big Marc-Andre Fleury fan. So, what are your thoughts on this trade as a fan, but also as an analyst? Again,
I do. Part of me feels really bad for Fleury. He's been bounced around so many times. This is actually the first time that he's ever been traded mid-season, so this is kind of new for him. Fleury, 100% a future Hall of Famer. He's amazing. He is, I think, in our lifetime, one of, if not the best goalies that we've seen. I think this helps Minnesota, but again, they have Cam Talbot, who's been playing great. Minnesota's in a good playoff position right now. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think that they can make a deep run, but you have to have goaltending to make a deep run, and I think having both Talbot and Fleury really helps them.
Yeah.
I think it's a good move for them. I really do. I think that they'll split time to experience goaltenders. I think it's going to be great for them.
I think it's a win-win for both teams as well. I mean, if you're the Chicago Blackhawks, you obviously had that whole trade with the Vegas Golden Knights where it was kind of, you didn't know if Fleury was going to play. He wasn't a fan of the trade. He didn't want to leave Vegas. He loved it there. But obviously, it is a business. He got traded to the Blackhawks, did accept going there. He added a lot of veteran leadership for that locker room. And I think that definitely helped out. And then at the deadline, you're able to ship him off for a second-round pick that can turn into a first. And if you're the Blackhawks, you're hoping that can happen, even if it's a late first. You never know. And trades, first-round picks, as long as it's a first-round pick, it's very valuable.
Yeah, and being Fleury, you go from playing on a team that's not making the playoffs, and they're horrible, to a real playoff contender. I would be very happy.
And the thing is, too, is that you look at his stats from this year. Now, nothing is really impressive, but again, you have to remember the team he was playing with was the Blackhawks, and haven't been very good this season, which led to them making this trade. 45 games played, 19, 21, and 5 with a .908 save percentage. Again, not Fleury's best, but if you look at what he was working with, it's,
and he brings
it's going to be tough.
He brings the experience, which is so huge, especially this time of the year.
And now the Wild improved their 1-2 punch at goalie. I mean, it already wasn't terrible with Cam Talbot leading the way, and then you had Kakkonen as well, who we're going to get into right now because the Wild followed up that trade by trading goaltender Capo Kakkonen to the San Jose Sharks for defenseman Jacob Middleton. Elanor, what are your thoughts on this pickup by San Jose?
I mean, obviously it was necessary to trade him. I think San Jose is kind of a weird place for him because they have 2 goalies already under contract for the next season in Aiden Hill and James Reimer, who are both not good.
I thought James Reimer, he actually had a pretty good start to the season. In terms of, because again, I play fantasy hockey, so the main reason of how you're going to win every matchup is you have one goalie you keep, and then you add and drop throughout the week. That's like the big thing. And I've always kept an eye on him because his numbers have been pretty well, but you think of the San Jose Sharks, and it's, again, they're not great.
No. I do think now they have 3 goalies under contract until the end of the 2022-23 season. So, odd.
Is he going to get playing time? Who gets demoted to the AHL, and then it's a waiver wire pickup? Somebody could.
I think Aiden Hill would be the one to go down. I think they're going to keep James Reimer starting. I would. And Hakanen's only really been a backup, so weird. But I guess it'll maybe work out. I don't know. I thought that was strange.
Again, a necessary move for the Wild.
Yeah.
What do you think of Middleton?
Anything? I think he has good potential. Again, they got back a pretty good player.
Yeah.
I do think it's a weird thing, just in general.
And it was a necessary move. We have about 10 minutes left. I just want to remind everybody that you are listening to WHPC Sports Talk on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. It's Dominic Arbolino and Elanor Ciampi breaking down the NHL Trade Deadline. That concluded yesterday. Coming up right after this, in 10 minutes, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, German Hit Parade, live band. Going to be a good time. Stay tuned for that. Let's continue on with the deadline, and let's get to Eleanor's Pittsburgh Penguins. They acquired forward Richard Raquel from the Anaheim Ducks for forward Zach Aston Reese, Dominic Simon, goaltending prospect Kale Klang, and a 2022 second-round pick. How did I do on those names? I'm sorry. When it gets to hockey, I mean, I am a big fan of hockey, but the names still get everybody confused.
So it's Ricard Raquel.
Okay.
Dominic Simone. That's it. You did fine. Otherwise,
it looks like Simon.
It does look like Simon. And even like play-by-play, like the radio guys, like the Islanders guys, like they get it wrong. The Rangers guys get it wrong.
That's one thing that if you're going into the broadcasting industry is that unless you're a diehard like Canadian hockey fan, or you don't have to be Canadian because Eleanor, you know all the names. But if you're not a diehard fan, you're just bound to mess up.
Yeah.
Which is something you don't get judged on because everybody does it.
Yeah. So it's Dominic Simone. He's Czech. He's from Czech Republic. So that's why.
Okay. Anyways, thoughts on the deal?
Good job otherwise. I'm so excited about this deal. I cannot wait for Raquel to be a Penguin. I finally somebody to play with Malkin, and then Brian Russ can move back onto the first line with Sidney Crosby and Jake Gensel. I'm super excited to see how he fits in. I think he's going to be great. He is a little bit different. He shoots right but plays left wing, so that's awesome. That's always a plus. He's great at attacking off the rush, which is like the preferred method for the Penguins' top 6. So I do think he's going to fit in great. Dominic Simone, he's been a healthy scratch more than he's played, so I don't really think we're going to miss him. Zach Aston Reese, we're definitely going to miss. I'm going to miss him personally. He's one of my favorite Penguins. Great penalty killer, leads the team in hits. But overall, in 107 games, both Simone and Zach Aston Reese combined for 5 goals. So you're not going to miss scoring or anything like that. You're going to get scoring with Raquel. And again, we have plenty of goaltending prospects. We're not going to miss Kling. So I'm very excited. I cannot wait for Raquel to play.
I actually have a question now because when we had a live broadcast, when was this? In November already? Has it been that long ago?
December, I think.
December?
Yeah.
You predicted that the Stanley Cup Finals is going to be the New York Rangers and Anaheim Ducks. Now, we already talked about the Rangers a little bit. We're not high on them getting there anymore. But what about the Ducks now because they're shipping off?
I still think the Ducks are very good and very dangerous, especially with Zegras. Zegras is like one of my favorite young players to watch. I don't think that they're going to get to the Stanley Cup Final. I do think that they can make a serious cup run, though. I really do. I think that people are underestimating them. I think they're really good.
And hey, I mean, if you get it right and the Rangers and Ducks do play in the finals, you'll be able to say that you predicted that. So there you go. Yeah. I really don't ever want to talk about this team. It's really just, they play well when it's already too late. They miss out on games that they should be winning. If you haven't figured it out already, I'm talking about the New York Islanders. They were not active during the deadline, which honestly nobody really expected, but we maybe thought some of these players that they actually signed to an extension could have been traded at the deadline. Those 2 players are Cal Clutterbuck and Zach Parisi. So it's a 2-year deal for Cal Clutterbuck, a 1-year deal for Zach Parisi. I don't have the numbers on Parisi yet, but I know Clutterbuck's contract was worth 2 years and $1.75 million for each year.
I don't understand this. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I don't get it at all. If I had to pick one that I would have kept, it probably would have been Clutterbuck, but even still, like, he's so inconsistent. He's so injury prone. So is Parisi. I don't understand keeping these two players. I mean, my guess would be that nobody wanted them, and that's why they couldn't.
Well, according to Lou
trade them.
Lamoriello in his press conference after the deadline, that Clutterbuck was a hot name, but they decided to keep him.
I doubt that.
I mean, maybe they weren't getting the return that they wanted. Maybe he was getting calls about him, but it was nothing that really intrigued Lou Lamoriello.
Which I get. I do get that. But I do find this very odd, and I don't know why teams want to stay old. I would go younger. I don't get it.
From a non-Islander fan's perspective, because a lot of the times when I'm talking about the Islanders, I'm talking to a lot of Islander fans.
Yeah.
I mean, we live on Long Island. It's just how it is. Is it bad that Islander fans could be getting sick of Lou Lamoriello at this point? Like, I feel like we're starting to get annoyed with him, and I understand. He's the hockey legend, general manager, with all, but
I get it. I totally get it. And again, I said this when Lou Lamoriello was hired years ago. He has made every team that he's been a part of worse in the end. Every team. Like, you can see it. It's in the writing. Like, he has destroyed every team. He's made every team old. He's good in the beginning. Obviously, he's been good for the Islanders. But I think now you're starting to see what happened with the Devils and all of that. Like, I don't think that he's as amazing as people think that he is. And I do also think that he's getting older. He's more prone to go towards like the older style of hockey and like that kind of way, like the older veteran physical players, and I get that, but the NHL is not in that place anymore. I do think his time should be over with the Islanders. I think his time in the NHL should be over. So I think it's fine to be annoyed.
The Islanders, I'm going to make it very simple. They suck.
Yeah, no, they
suck.
totally do.
They've sucked the whole year, and fans have been giving the excuse of you had the long road trip. I will give credit where with COVID, it was very tough. They were one of the first teams hit and had so many different players going in and out of the lineup. I'll give them that, but still, there were chances they could have came. They had the games in hand. They had easy opponents that they lost to. If it wasn't for Ilya Sorokin, I would have no faith in the Islanders. I still think they're going to have to rebuild. A message to all the Islander fans out there: they're not winning anymore. They're past it. They had their two chances. The team is just getting older, and they brought back the older guys, which makes no sense. No. Even if it's minimal money, this is money that you can maybe put to a better free agent, better defenseman.
You have so many young prospects in the minors that aren't getting used, aren't getting playing time, and you keep playing these old players, and then now you're resigning them. It's not a good look.
No, it's not. And Cal Clutterbuck, again, he's a fan favorite for many reasons.
And I get it.
He's added a lot of energy to that team, especially with the fourth line. You know, the dream fourth line, we all love to call them. But again, they're past their prime. They're not doing anything for us anymore. No. They're not. The game is changing. And Clutterbuck, again, 59 games played this year, 6 goals, 9 assists, plus minus a -6. I understand you're not adding him for his scoring, but it's not what it used to be anymore. No. And there was no reason to bring him back. And honestly, another thing I saw on Twitter being addressed, if they were so confident about them wanting to be with the Islanders, why not trade them away and then re-sign them in the offseason?
Right.
If they really want to be here, be like, listen, go get a chance to win, and then we'll bring you back afterwards if you want to continue to build something here. Not sure what they're building, because it doesn't seem like it's going to be going anywhere.
No.
But they don't have a first-round pick this year again, right? Or was that last year's draft?
No, I don't think they have a first-round pick this year.
Disappointing. I mean, the whole entire situation's awful. They made a desperate move with Daniel Chara, and I remember me and Eric Fischetti, again, we were a little excited about it, but again, it was a desperation move. I could maybe play better at defenseman there as long as I could skate, which I can't.
He's 45. I don't know why are we so old? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Why not play Salo? And then you have Sebastian Aho playing.
Right.
You know, it should be happening. And then he had a crucial play that allowed Kevin Hayes to get the first of his 2 goals in that game against the Flyers.
And a game against the Flyers, you should be able to win.
Oh, 100%.
You know, that's not a game that you can lose.
Yeah.
But now, they're catching up to everybody else in games played. The time, I think the window is close.
And this past week, they had an impressive win against the New York Rangers, the Stars as well. I mean,
too little, too late, though, at this point.
Exactly.
It's not the time to start playing now.
No. And listen, it is disappointing because everybody thought, the Islanders were trending up. They were so close. You get this new arena. There was such positive energy behind them. But
and you look at
it's just not there anymore.
The Metro standings, or the Eastern Conference standings, when you have Boston and Washington in the 2 wild card spots, you know that the Eastern Conference is stacked. And it's a very hard conference. The Metro is very difficult.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're not in a good place at all.
Yeah. You have any final thoughts before we head out? Anything you want to bring up we maybe didn't get to?
Just that if you want to be entertained by something crazy, Evgeny Dadonov, his whole trade with Ducks is probably not going to go through because Ottawa failed to register or whatever with the NHL his no trade clause, and the Ducks were on that list. So,
Well, don't forget, starting right now, right after us, German Hit Parade, the live band, going to be a lot of fun. Anyways, for Matt Leonard, Michael Merlo, Joshua Umahi, and Elanor Ciampi, I'm Dominic Arbolino saying thank you for listening to WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.